Um, Welcome everyone. I am Priyanshi and I am from DSC KIIT. We're just a bunch of developers trying to promote peer-to-peer learning. And with that in mind, we started a webinar series called DevTalks. And today is actually our 11th installment. And for that, we're going to have a panel discussion for which we brought to you not one, not two, not three, but four speakers. They're all inspiring women in the field of technology, and they're also part of an amazing nonprofit called the Nuevo Foundation, which empowers underrepresented communities. They organize coding workshops, sessions, speaker series, just like DevTalks, to encourage kids to pursue the field of STEM. Guys, be sure to check them out. They are doing some really awesome work out there. And without further ado, it's time to reveal our panelists. First up, we have Beatris A. Mendez Gandica, Program Manager at Microsoft. She enjoys giving back to the community, and so she started the Nuevo Foundation in 2018. Next up, we have Komal Shah, who is a full stack developer, software engineer at Microsoft, and the lead at Nuevo Foundation. She has a history of working with. Next panelist is Mollee Jain. He's a software engineer at Microsoft, CEO at Nuevo Foundation. And last but not the least, we have Anvesha Sinha, who has done quite a lot in the field of AI. And she's also a software engineer at Microsoft and lead at Nuevo Foundation. Now, I've done a really brief introduction, and I don't think it's fair to our esteemed panelists. So I'll pass on the mic to you ladies, and we'd love it if you could tell us a little bit about yourselves, starting with Anvesha.
Hi. So I am Anvesha, and I am a software engineer at Microsoft. I am originally from India. I did my bachelor's from Vellore Institute of Technology, Vellore, and then I flew to United States for my master's. I was fortunate enough to get into a university in Los Angeles called University of Southern California, and master's was for 2 years, and then I got a job at Microsoft, and I have been working at Microsoft as software engineer for about 4 years now. I have been a part of Nuevo for more than a year now, and I think it has helped me believe in my passion and pursue my passion of helping kids and students out there with computer science.
Well, that's pretty great to know. Thank you. Next up, we have Komal. The virtual stage is all yours.
Hey, hi everyone. So nice to meet you. I'm sad it's virtual today, but still good enough. So yeah, I'm Komal, and I'll give you a brief idea about my background. So I have about 6 years experience now, out of which 3 has been under Microsoft. And I have done my master's in software technology from BITS Pilani, and I'm a full stack developer here. I've been associated with Nuevo since I'm actually the newest member here since just a few months now. But I'm so glad that I've joined a community where I get an option to giving back to the community. And these ladies have been doing great work. I hope I can take it further in India now, and looking forward to meet more people going forward. That's it.
That's pretty great. Thank you. Next up, we have Mollee.
Yeah, hi. My name is Mollee. I live in San Diego, California at the moment. I grew up here, went to middle school, high school, and then college here. And then after college, I joined Microsoft. Having not really had much industry experience before, it was a new experience for me. I was a bio minor and a CS major, so that combination wasn't on my team, but it's been a really rewarding 4.5 years at Microsoft so far, and I really enjoyed it. And I met Bea there, I think 2017, 2018, and Nuevo Foundation was born around the same time, and I've been there since the start, and it's been an amazing experience. I think it's a great way of putting forth the community-based learning that we all enjoy doing, and it's been a great ride so far.
Hey, thank you. And last but not the least, Beatrice, go ahead.
Yeah, so I go by Bea. I'm from Venezuela. I grew up there, and then I got to move to the US to go to college, and I went to school in Wisconsin. And then after that, I started at Microsoft, and it's been 6 years now. So it has been great. Nuevo has opened a lot of opportunities for us. And the greatest thing has been that when we teach kids that might not have an opportunity to have a role model or a chance to see someone that look like them or that somehow they can relate to, and that have gone through college and go to computer science or a STEM degree, to see that they can see themselves in those shoes has been the greatest thing. It's just an amazing feeling that you can see it on the kid. That they're like, hey, I can code. Like, hey, I did Hello World. Like that kind of excitement. It's what I think all of us at Nuevo is what we want to see and what drives us. Because it is work, but at the end of the day, when at the moment you see that smile, it's when you're like, oh, thank you. You know, like so worth it. So yeah.
That is so uplifting to hear. Thank you. So the courtesies have been exchanged, and so now our panelists have a presentation prepared for us to get started with the discussion. So, ladies, you can go ahead with that.
Let me do this. No, not this. Definitely not this. 1 second. How about now? Can you see the PowerPoint or no?
Not right now.
Okay. 1 second. I got this. Okay, you should be able to see it now.
Yes, it's there.
Sweet, awesome, cool. So about Nuevo Foundation, our mission is to inspire kids to be curious, confident, and courageous by discovering the world of STEM. And the whole idea started because it was literally Mollee, myself, and 4 others that we sat and started thinking like, what else can we do to bring and to make sure that kids know about STEM education, regardless of their situation, regardless of where they are, what they look like. We just want to make sure that everybody has a chance to know how enriching technology is. So that's how it started. Since then, we have taught that the first event that we had was in 2018. And since then, we have taught over 4,100 diverse students. And we ask for feedback every time we do an event. And what we found out, and we're very proud, is that 80% of them after an event feels that they're more interested in STEM. And 91% of them believe that they learn how to code. This has been done in 10 countries. Anvesha, who's in the panel as well, she was able to do this in India, and we're very happy. And there are other countries as well where we have been able to teach and bring like what STEM education can do for students across these countries. And more are coming. So what we do, we focus on 3 programs. So the first one that we focus on is coding workshops. Those ones are where we have a classroom, or it could be at Microsoft as well, but we have a teacher or an instructor who starts at the beginning and leads the workshop. So step by step, like how you go from hello world to what's a variable to what's a loop, what's an if-then statement, until the student can go and do it. But it's just step by step. Those tend to be in person. Then the other program we offer is virtual sessions, where you have a speaker that shares her or his journey about how they got into the STEM field, what they do at their job, and then what makes them go into STEM. And then the students have an opportunity to ask questions about what is it to be a software engineer, what it's like to be a program manager, a game designer, or any other career, depending on who's speaking. And given the times that we're living right now, we have now a YouTube channel where you can see and go and learn virtually how to do these workshops. And then the last one that we have is the speaker series. In terms of speaker series, just think about it as a tech talk, where you have a big audience of students or in a big auditorium in high school or middle school. And then there's an opportunity to go and bring that idea of a STEM education is for everyone at a larger audience. So those are the 3 programs that we offer. And then this is just some pictures to make it real. So the first picture on the top left is just this sweet lady. She's middle schooler, and she's like, "Can you please take me a picture? I'm wearing a Nuevo Foundation t-shirt." And guess what's the first thing I'm gonna do? And so what she answers is like, "I'm gonna go home and teach my little sister how to code." So that's just like super pretty, because it's normally not expected that kid is so happy about coding, and especially to go and teach your sister. So that's why it has a special place for us. The second one was one of the biggest events we taught. It was like 100 students, about 100 and some. And then we were celebrating, in that case, it was Hispanic Heritage Month, where we bring kids from rural areas in the state of Washington. And then they came to Microsoft, and we were able to do a great workshop. I believe it was Python with Turtle, what we taught at that time. Then the picture at the bottom left, it is at a big hackathon. We had over 90 hackers. And so this is some of us that were all rooting and making workshops, making how we're going to do fundraising. And that was a very fun. It's 3 days where all of us are having fun, but especially creating content for the next school year for the kids can see it. And the last picture is, it's not like they're not paying attention that they had headphones. It's more that they're making their own song with ear sketch via Python. So that one, Anvesha was teaching at that time, if I'm not mistaken. And so they're having fun because they're making their own music with their own genre that they like while learning how to code. So yeah, and I think this is the last slide. So in opportunities, if anybody in the audience is willing to help us out, if you have a contact in any school that can benefit from our programs, they're all in English, they're all on our website. Everything that we have is open source, is all in GitHub. Or if there's an opportunity to teach a workshop at a local school and that's something you're interested or creating workshops, please let us know. We're always open, and we're based pretty much in all volunteer. And then I had this. Awesome. But you have introduced us, and then this is just in case you want to get in touch with us. That way you guys can contact us. So yeah, that's what I had.
Great. Well, congratulations for all the work you're doing out there. I hope you guys grow exponentially. I'll just quickly share the link of your website in the chat.
Thank you.
Accessible. Okay, done. So we'll move on to the panel discussion now. And the first question that we have is how to build an active community. I'd like to start off with Mollee here. She'd like to share her thoughts on that question.
Sure, yeah. So active community, people define that in different ways, I would say. For us, I think our community was this whole education and technology space. And we were able to find a community by looking around us, volunteering for different events, and looking for events around us that made sense with our passions and our interest. So building that active community takes time. You know, within the foundation community also is something that has taken some time to build up, but it comes from people who are also invested in the next generation. People are interested in learning more and building on STEM projects that already exist. And there are a lot of people with similar passions out there. So that's, I think, building an active community comes from looking within your community and finding other volunteers and other opportunities that you are passionate about, and then using those to extend your knowledge and experience there.
Okay.
Anyone else wants to add on? Yeah.
Yes. Do any other panelists would like to add on? Beatris?
I think that it has been a lot of success, especially with students that are first generation. There has been, by first generation, I mean the first person in the family that gets to go to university. Because as we have more internship, especially those that come from diverse background, we have seen that they just feel like Nuevo Foundation is the place because there was somebody in their high school or at their middle school that was able to come and say, hey, by the way, there's this thing called computer science, or this thing called coding that can change your life. And so those has been great things that have come, like especially just recent college hires that have been helping us. And there is a lot of people that have passion to help others. And I think that has been, we're being very lucky, and people really believe in the foundation, because I think all of us, and you can see it, we're very passionate, right? Like we really want to help out. It's not like we're looking something in return. It's more, what can I bring to a kid that might not have the chance, and that's what drives us. And I think people can see and can feel that to the point that now if they hear about Nuevo, it's like, yeah, I know that you are the guys that teach kids how to code. Awesome. And so that has been, but it is not easy by any means. We started, it was 5 of us or 6 of us, literally in a cafeteria talking about this crazy idea, like maybe we can make this happen, maybe not. And it has been great so far.
Okay, thank you. And would Anvesha or Komal like to add on to that?
Yeah, I can go next.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Anvesha.
Yeah. So I wasn't with Bea and Mollee when they started off, and I am a fairly recent recruit to Nuevo Foundation. And it just started because I had this passion of, giving back to this community, the community which has been, I have been very fortunate in getting everything that I have got today, looking back. So, I joined Nuevo Foundation with this idea of giving back to the community. And I think, meeting people with similar passion helps you create that active community, because if you kind of fall back, there are others to support you. So I think a very important factor in building an active community is being involved and being in touch with people who believe in the same thing as you do. Yeah.
Oh, that was great. And Komal, would you like to add on to that or have any opposing views?
Yeah, definitely. So first thing I would say is, like, as I said, I'm from India, right? And here we have this old society thought that you only can do well if you are at a good position. I mean, if you are a doctor or an engineer, then you are doing great, nothing otherwise. So I've seen many students who have that fear or under that pressure that, I have to do good, but they don't know how you can. So I think this is an opportunity for me where I can go back to them and give them, an overview about what this tech world is, and give them a direction on how they can succeed in future without any fear. So I think that is the main motivation point for me. And some months back, actually, I've been thinking about this, but I never knew how I could start or how I could collaborate with more people. And I saw this Nuevo Foundation, Bea's mail on this, and I was so excited to go. And I just saw her mail and directly jumped on, saying that, yes, I want to do it. Please let me know how I can start and what I can do first here. So yeah, it's a great, it's all about passion actually. You can't directly go and say that, yes, I'll do it and I can build a community. But so that's our motto here, and I'm sure we'll go further much well. Yeah.
True words. Thank you. So we'll move on to our next question. Our next question is, what motivated you people to start the Nuevo Foundation, and how is it impacting society? So I know Beatris and Mollee started the Nuevo Foundation, so I'd like to start off the question with them, and then we can move on.
Yeah. So I think that the reason we started is because we wanted a community that can be for anyone, regardless of your color, regardless of like your gender, anything. Like, we wanted to be able to help anyone and be focused on underrepresented. And so that's how we started, and we wanted something to be open. And I think that's where, like, can we do fun things that are not like, like super math heavy, or like that you can actually tie your passion to tech. So we have, like, as one of the pictures that I show is like, you can make your music with Python, right? That's awesome. Like, because we can get a set of the population that likes or enjoys music. There's another one that we have recently in YouTube is, how can you make your own set of drums with an Adafruit? So there is like music again. If there's one that it's more artistic, so you can make your own website with your own drawings or your own pictures. So as long as we could have make it fun and not this dragging thing, like, oh, I need to learn, or like that black screen, or like even like the blue screen address, like that's what you think about coding. Like, that's not what we want to think about coding, right? It's like something that's doable, that it's visible. And yes, we teach the basics most of the time in intermediate, but the idea is that, first of all, don't have fear. It's fun, and it's supposed to be fun. If you don't like it, you at least try it. You can make a known decision that you try something and it's not for you. That's totally fine. And also we wanted an opportunity, which is something that we do, to show the students that even if you don't go for a technical career or any career in the STEM field, you could still work in the tech world. And so we do encourage kids to go into STEM. We do. That's our main goal. But at the same time, if you try it and that's not something for you, we also want to open that mindset and say, look, it doesn't matter what you go to school for, but if you go to school and keep doing your homework and you understand the basic of coding and that problem-solving skills, you could still work at a tech company. And that's something that we really wanted to drive with Nuevo. And we felt that we could have a difference and make an impact. And the impact we've seen with the kids. Now, to see the ROI on these kids, it might be 10 years from now. It might be 6 years from now, because most of the students that we teach are mostly in middle school. So by the time they graduate from high school, go to university and graduate, it's still a long time. But we are hopeful that they're going to keep practicing. I mean, that's what they tell us in the feedback. And we're giving also resources in our website and pointing out to like Code Academy, code.org, or other resources where they can also enhance their coding skills.
Perfect. Thank you. And Mollee, tell us about your story then.
Well, I think Bea covered most of like why we started this foundation and what we hope to achieve with it. But in my personal experience, I never thought I could, really code. I was okay at math, but I was just like, I never thought I would be a good programmer, and I just never gave it a chance. And then I got to college, which is fairly late in the game, and I was like, oh, this is fun. I really enjoy this. I get to move turtles around and this comes intuitively to me. And I knew it was a career move for me after I spent 8 hours on one problem for homework, and I realized that it didn't feel like 8 hours. So it was at that point that I was like, other people also will experience this feeling. It's just there's this barrier to get into STEM, to get into technology, to get into computer science. And it's one of the reasons why I think Nuevo Foundation is so powerful with opening the barriers for every person, regardless of background, age, gender, things like that. So but otherwise, Bea did a good job of covering the other reasons. But yes.
And let me just add on, most kids get into programming because they see turtles moving around. It's the most interesting thing.
I love the turtles.
Me too. So, Komal, you're the newest recruits. Okay, so tell us about your story.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, right, I would say that one chooses a career from what you see in your family background or what you see around you. I come from a girls' school, and in those days girls are very sincere, very honestly. So we were always focused on our homework and how I can get good marks, how I can score further. We always had a plan. But going forward, middle school is fine. After that, you don't know which career line to choose. And that is when all this thing, like the work that Nuevo Foundation does, that is the thing that helps at that time. So my first message for kids will be like, it's okay if you don't have a plan, it's fine. Just go with your instincts, learn, explore more things, and like help you explore more things in that scenario. And that's it. Like that's our work right now. We can go and give them an opportunity to learn various things, and then you can decide if you want to go further with that. And I can say with our experience, all four of us can say we are doing great in the tech world, and it is an amazing place to be. But that's your choice in the end.
Thank you. And let me just tell you that I'm also from an all-girls school, so I could relate about that part. Okay. Anvesha, tell us about your thoughts.
Yeah, so when I joined Nuevo, the reason why I joined Nuevo was, first of all, kids. They were helping out, teaching kids. I love teaching. I love breaking down complex stuff into smaller things. I just approached Bea and Mollee about how I can give back. And the best part was it was using the skills that I had worked on, right from school and college. And I could utilize my skills of coding and creating workshops. So that was something that has made me stick along, and we'll continue to be together for as long as we can. And how it's impacting society, the thing that really motivates me every time we have a workshop session is seeing the happiness in kids, in some of the kids. Some kids are not very interested. They're like, oh my God, what is this? But other kids are so interested, and we are kind of very excited in teaching these kids, because they are way ahead of us. And they're like, okay, I'm going to try something new. I'm going to go to the next lesson. And they keep on asking questions. And that brings me back to my own childhood when I was coding for the first time, and the kind of joy it brought me. So yeah, I think this is something that motivates me every day to work on this and keep on contributing.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to share with the audience that Anvesha mentioned about teaching, yeah, and she is an amazing teacher. I know I've stalked her LinkedIn, guilty as charged. So, and we'll move on. The next question, and it's frequently asked, why should a person contribute to the community? And we'll start off with Mollee.
Sure. Yeah. So there's a lot, I think, different reasons someone could contribute back to their own community. For me, it was, discovering teaching, like Anvesha said. So I taught in college as well, and then I did Girls Who Code for a summer. And it's one thing to, think you understand certain concepts. It's another thing to try and teach them to someone else entirely. And it was during those experiences that I realized that computer literacy these days is something that is very, very important in our society as a whole. And it's something that a lot of students and adults even are not prepared for in the realities of life. Every aspect of the world will at some point require technology. So even if you don't go into technology, it's good to understand what goes on within this world of technology as a whole. So, giving back or contributing back to your community is also helps you, but also helps society as a whole. And it's something that gives you a sense of purpose that I think is very well worth it in the long run too. Yeah.
Thank you. So we'll move on to Komal. Tell us your thoughts about this.
So my first thought would be giving can be in any form. Giving back to the community, not just in terms of technology, but it could be in any form. I mean, you could go back to the underprivileged and give them, help them with the things that they need. You can even spend some time in old age home and help them with their things. I mean, it's about giving back from where you have come from. That is like going back to the roots. And that if you do that, then you get that joy of giving. That is little more about that work satisfaction that we get. And that's a really satisfying feeling. I mean, I've seen my mom and my family giving back, helping the underprivileged and everything. And that's what has motivated me to do this. And right now, like for what we all are doing, I mean, it's pretty simple actually, because I am teaching what I'm already doing at work, what I've already learned some time back. So it's pretty easy work actually. And seeing the kids actually learn and growing so fast in their career at such a small age is the first motivation for us.
Great, thank you. So we'll move on. Anvesha, tell us your views on this.
Yeah, so like Mollee mentioned, I think it's very personal. Different people have different ways of giving back to the community. And I strongly feel that everyone should be the change that they want to see in the society. And I couldn't just sit back and just kind of pray or hope that every kid in the world gets the same kind of opportunity. So I had to, go out and help out in every way I can. So yeah, I mean, it's for everyone, it's different. So just look out for your passion and just be the change that you want.
Amazing quote. Thank you. And last but not the least, Beatris.
Yeah, for me, it's just been something that has been always with my family. I remember being 6-7 years old, and my grandparents will take me, and like help out at orphanage or like to the elderly home, or just like that giving back has been so ingrained from my grandparents to my parents, my cousins. And I just felt that when I came to this country, being from a Latino background, I just felt that I had to do a lot more for the community, and especially show that people that look like me and have an accent like I do, right? There's also a place. So like to be there as a role model and have that opportunity that I think if somebody would have come to my high school or when I was in middle school and say, hey, by the way, this is coding and it's fun, I think that would have, like, be more engaged since a younger age. And so because I didn't have that, I want to make sure that the kids that are right now in middle school and elementary and high school do have that. So it's personal. I love it. Giving back. It's just a feeling that it's hard to replicate somewhere else because it's selfless, right? It's like, how can you doing something can make a huge difference on somebody else's life.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll move on to the next question. And the next question is, how do you manage time to contribute to the community apart from your office work? So I would like to start with Komal on this one.
Okay. So as we said earlier, right, it's all about passion actually. Like if you have a hobby, say, you don't have to specifically manage time for that, right? You will find time for doing that. So that's what we do here also. So every time we get a chance, maybe I'm spending time like connecting with my old school. Like last night I was doing the same thing. So I was connecting with my old teachers that now I am a part of this foundation and please let me know how I can help you with this. Or maybe connecting with my old college mates and getting more connections to connect with more people. So it's all about passion. And as Bea mentioned, it's a selfless act. And you saw those kids' photos actually, such happiness they had on their faces. So yeah, and if you love to do something, you are definitely going to look for more chances to just go back and do the same thing. It's all about work satisfaction. And as we mentioned before, so everyone may not have all the opportunities. We have got it. So why not create it for more people as much as we can?
That's really motivating to hear. So we'll move on to Anvesha.
Yeah, so I won't be lying. It is tough when you have side projects, office work, and other side projects that you are passionate about. But like Komal mentioned, if you have a passion for something, it just comes naturally to you, right? And I think the kind of work that I'm doing for Nuevo, like building workshops, it comes naturally to me, like coding. So it's very important to invest your time and effort in something that you have passion for, so that it does not feel like a different task that you're doing on the side, but rather than something that you want to spend your time doing. So yeah, so I usually work on the weekends or sometimes when I have time during the week after office. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll move on to Beatris.
Yeah, for me, it's like right now it's like 9 p.m. in our time, right? And we're speaking. Like the fact that that's how much we care for other people to also get back to their community. And I think when you do, I'm just gonna echo the answer. When you do something with passion, it doesn't feel like work. And what we try is like, because we know the work is volunteer, we don't have like hard deadlines, right? Like there are things that it would be great to have, but it's not like, hey, if you don't finish this video or this workshop by tomorrow, something's going to go bad. It's more like, how can we ideate and help each other to bring the best content that we can for kids so that they learn. But I just think that the reward is way bigger than the amount of work that we put. And that's why keep all of us coming back. Because it is work. We meet after hours. Sometimes our meeting go 3 hours long. Sometimes we've left the office, like meeting at the office for like almost midnight. But at the end of the day, when you see those smiles, and I keep coming back to the smiles because that's the reward that we get as being part of Nuevo. It's like those kids, like that when you ignite that spark on the kid that might not even have any idea of that they can also do it too. That's what makes it fun. And obviously, sometimes it helps. Sometimes when we get to win a hackathon, or complete a workshop, or be able to have like a YouTube channel because we have cool people like Anvesha that wanted to go and show like step by step how you do that, right? Like that to us is just something like that's awesome. That's a milestone that we get, and the more that we get out there, the more kids that we can help. Because not every kid is willing to come and say, hey, I want to learn how to code, right? It's very hard for us to get and see kids. And we have had, I believe it was either Mollee that was telling me that we have kids that come from 3-4 hours away from where we are located, and they have to get up at maybe 4 a.m. in order to come to campus. And they're like, I had to come, like maybe no emotion, or they feel like they're being dragged by their parents that they have to attend this event. And when they leave, they're like, this is the best day of my life. Like that reaction, and that thing that they get with them, that it's possible. More than anything, if we can have someone that goes from I have no idea to, hey, this is possible and it's fun, that's the reward.
Yeah, nicely put. The smiles make it all worth it. So we'll move on to Mollee. Tell us about your.
Yeah, I mean, just +1 on what everyone has said. And if I were to take this question more literally, like how do you budget time in a day-to-day basis with a full-time job? I think you find time as needed. We work over, like I find 10 minutes between my 11:30 meeting and maybe my 1 p.m. meeting and lunch and stuff like that. Within there, you find time to do the things that you want to do. We all have things that we do in our free time, whether that be a sport or you're watching movies or you're reading books, and right now we have a lot of time, I guess, but it's been nice to be able to carve out that time, and it gives you some energy back. At least for me, it does. And it helps when I'm like, I need a break from, this method that isn't working and my code is broken. Let me put that to the side right now and just focus on Nuevo for a little bit. And it's really nice to be able to do that too.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the next question. How do you encourage kids that don't see themselves working in the tech world? And I'd like to start this question with Beatris.
Yeah, so how do we encourage kids that don't see themselves in the tech world? So I think the first thing for them is to see someone that looks like them. I think that has been our hook, and it has been very successful, because sometimes it's hard to relate if you've never seen someone that works, let's say, at a tech company, and when you bring it to like the real, like, hey, look, I'm similar to you, either because you're also a woman, either because you're from the same background, either because you have the same mother tongue, whatever it is that relates to that student in particularly, has been how it has, I think we've been successful at that. And also like making it in a simple and fun way, that it's not just busy work. I'm not just going to teach you how to code because you need to learn how to code, and if you don't learn how to code, you're not going to get a job. No, that's not the message. The message is, hey, let's try this out. Let's make it in a fun way as much as we can. Let's sit down paper by paper, like line by line. This is what it's doing. And that's how it has been. And also what we do too is like we have an instructor at the front of the classroom, but we also have volunteers that are per row or per pod if you have a bunch of kids sitting in the same table. That way they get like detailed attention to their needs. So we tailor it, like, what is it the part that you don't understand? And then that way we go and try to teach as much as those kids can. But I think it comes down to seeing someone that looks like you and someone that has the patience and willingness to teach you something that might be super abstract for the student or for the kid. But if you can bring it to a level that's understandable for a student depending on the age, because sometimes we have middle schoolers, sometimes we have elementary, sometimes we have high school. It's a way that as long as you can relate and make it fun, I think that's how we have been trying to make sure that it's for everyone. This is not just for X, Y, or Z. No. This is for all of us.
Wow, that approach was really interesting, and I'm sure it works wonders. So we'll move on to Anvesha.
Yeah, I totally +1 agree on what they mentioned about being the role model. It's more like, if I can do it, you can do it too. It's not that difficult. And the way we encourage is breaking it down into simpler, more fun way of doing things. And it's just giving examples that make sense from their point of view, and just giving them enough data points so that they can get started and get inspired and then go explore that area on their own.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to Komal.
Hey, yeah. My first point would be lose the fear. I mean, it's okay if you don't know to code right now, or you don't know what the tech world is right now. It's okay about that. So, like, I can tell you about my college days. It was totally fun. I didn't code till my first day of work. But if now, today, if I can be a full stack developer, anyone can. It's that easy. So the simplest thing is go for fundamentals first, because you know people get worried about like what is stack, what is queue, I don't know how to implement it. That's fine. That's the next step. First learn about loops. Like first go step by step. If you're clear on your fundamentals, it's very easy to go to the next step, and you will enjoy it also. And the second thing I'd like to say is it's very important for people to understand that tech world is not only about coding. You can play with numbers if that's what you like. You can do analysis, you can be into research, you can even be a program manager like we have two members here. So there are so many different roles available. So find your passion, what you like, learn more about that, and then you can plan on how you want to enter the tech world. It's that simple.
Yes, I 100% agree. And Molly, please share your thoughts.
Yeah, so I think it's also about like the connection to the subject. You know, I didn't connect initially with computer science, but when I found that this was something that was interesting to me, I continued. And then the second thing that I think we encounter a lot is this sort of fear of failure. Like I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'll be good at this, so I might as well not try. And that is not the right attitude to have with this. It's okay to fail, and you learn to fail fast and move forward and stuff like that. And getting that message to students and encouraging them, to fail, to try things. That's what science is about. That's what computer science is about. Is I think the way to encourage students into STEM fields as a whole.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to the next question, which is how to encourage more people to get into STEM. And we'll start with Anvesha here.
Yeah, so I think this is very similar to the previous question about encouraging people who don't see themselves working in the tech world. Yeah, so like we mentioned, I mean, with what Molly said, don't be scared. Don't be scared of failures. I mean, everybody fails, and then it just depends on how quickly and fastly you can rebound back from the failure and just retry. Also, try not to start with a very complicated subject. Start small and then build on top of it. Yeah, just keep on going. Just keep on doing the things that you're doing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Molly, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, I think one thing that people tend to forget is tech is not just necessarily sitting down at a computer and doop all the time. That was an accurate assessment of what I do on a day-to-day. But it's more creative and artistic than that. It's more abstract. All the elements of history and art that we learn in school, we get to pull into what we do as a whole too. So I think in terms of finding what you like to do and finding that space within the tech world for yourself, that is, where your strength would be, and how you can see yourself in STEM is seeing your interest reflected in STEM as well. So,
okay. What about you, Beatris? Any views, thoughts?
Yeah, it's like just show that there are multiple careers in STEM, right? I just think I'm just going to echo the rest of it. There are things that are more technical than where you actually are in an engineering role writing code. There's another ones where you help with design and moving forward from point A to point B. There's other ones of migrating technologies. There's so many. There's designers. I met someone today that she's a producer. So for video games, and it's still in the tech company. So like, that's awesome. And she went to school for computer science, but that doesn't mean that she's going to be a software engineer. So there's so many careers that can be in tech. And also, like, I think tech is just one of those things that it's going to become like knowing how to write an essay or like learning basic math, because regardless of the education they choose to have, it's just going to help them. And I think that's what we try. We try to make it as simple and fun as we can. And then the idea is like, now you have the tools, make your own decisions. But we're giving you the basics, so at least they are no longer foreign to you.
Okay. And Komal, would you like to add on to that?
Sure, yeah. I would say there is a misconception here, at least I know, that only students who are getting straight A's go into STEM. Because you have to be a geek to go into STEM first. Otherwise, you'll be a fun, you'll have some fun job here. So that's not it, actually. It's not that difficult also that only people with straight A's can come here, first thing. And second is, we are in 2020. I mean, we are surrounded by tech all around us all the time. So even if you don't need to go and actually build the tech, you can even be a user for that. So like I do coding on a daily basis, but there are like marketing team, sales team, even like so there are so many other industries also apart from STEM. I mean, apart from IT, who use our applications. Even the doctors and the pharma industries have our softwares. So that's fine. I mean, getting into STEM doesn't mean that you are coming into computer science only for coding or only for doing this job that we do on a daily basis. You can only learn the fundamentals and then decide where you want to put your thoughts in or what you want to build it to use.
Great, thank you. So now you guys must have noticed that we have an all-women panel, hashtag women devs. So this question, so the next question is on behalf of DSC KIIT. So we organize sessions on various new technologies, but the number of male participants in these sessions outnumbers the female participants. Any advice that you guys would like to give us on how to close this gap would be much appreciated. We'll start off with Komal, since she's on the screen already.
Okay, so this actually, I had attended this Grace Hopper conference last year, and it's actually an all-women conference, but it's not limited to women. Let me clarify that. So there are about 5,000 members with only 5% men in there because they thought that, oh, it's a women conference, why should I go there? And even, I mean, there is a gap. I can see that even on a daily basis. I mean, people have this, it's a little patriarchy thinking, I guess I can say that, initially in my career days, or even I've seen my seniors, women are given only testing work. Or, I do the coding, you do the testing. Or even if I have written the code, they'll rewrite the entire thing because, oh, obviously it's not correct. They have that thinking. But, we are here to change that. And that's fine. It will take some time, I agree. But let's start it. And a simplest thing to start is with just add a he or she in every sentence that you add. In that way, you are creating a mindset. You are creating an inclusive mindset here. And that is the most important thing. After that, every step you will know that it's why I shouldn't underestimate girls here. There are so many women in our tech today. So I think it will take a little time to reach there, but we are on our way.
Yes, we will shatter the glass ceiling. So, Beatris, would you like to add on to that?
I think it just comes with like generations. I think that the new students that we've seen and the students that we serve, we can now see that there's more parity. So when I went to university, it was three of us, three ladies only in the classroom of like about 100. But now it's not. So now it's at least you have 30 to 40. So we'll get there. It is time, but I think it starts and I think that's why Nuevo plays a great part. Is like let's start when they are small. Let's start at the elementary and middle school level, because there's research done by multiple people, multiple universities that says that something happened between middle school and high school, and the interest is lost. So that's why one of the part that we focus. Again, we'll see the ROI eventually, but I think it's like seeing more role models, seeing more people like ourselves that are here, right? And that other girls can see themselves. Oh, look, I can be like Mollee, I can be like Anvesha, I can be like Komal, I can be like Beatris A. I think that's the things that we need to show, right? And the more exposure that we get and the more exposure that we have to kids and to boys as well, right? Because at the same time, you just can't think like if it's tech is just for one gender or the other. It's like, no, like every role can be for every gender. It's all good. There's no binary too, right? At the end of the day, it's just like make sure that we're opening up for more opportunities. And I think that we're trying to change that. And all of us are here willing for the change. It's just, it will take time, but we're fighting for it.
Yes, I totally agree. So, I'll pass the question to Anvesha. How do you close the gap? Any advice on that?
Yeah, so my answer is going to resonate with whatever Bea and Komal said about the conception that we have about, girls not being in the tech industry, and basically referring any engineer as a he rather than a gender neutral pronoun. And I do understand why people generally assume, because if I look at my team and the gender ratio is like, I am one of the 3 women in a team of about 30, 35 engineers. So it does make me feel like a minority right now. And what I can do from this point is, from where I am, is not stay hidden and go out and be role models for other girls, so that they can look at me and they're like, okay, I can probably be that, right?
Anvesha, your sound cut out.
Anvesha, your mic is muted.
Was it muted all this time?
No, just 10 seconds.
Part
Just
of
10
it.
seconds.
Okay, so I don't know how that happened.
Just
But
the last
anyway,
thing.
so so I do see women in my organization who, and there's a lot of pressure on them to, lead the entire herd of women. But I think we all need to do our jobs being engineers, inspiring women and making sure that they have the right opportunity. I mean, it's up to them to decide what to do, but they do get the exposure, and this is an option for us, for them.
Great, thank you. Mollee, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, I think this, closing the gap, there are two main components. One is exposure of CS, exposure of STEM, which is what the foundation aims to do. And the other is retention of women within companies and making sure they get into the power positions and are making decisions, key decisions. And a good example of that second one is, I believe there was a company that was trying to create a product, and that they did a lot of research and they were ready to release the product, and they went to release it and they realized that women weren't using the product because it was a voice activated product. And when a woman tried to speak into it, they didn't recognize her voice correctly. So it's, aside from, the sort of like need for equality in general, there's also a business equality. You're losing out on revenue when you continue to make mistakes like that. And diversity in tech leads to diversity of thought, which leads to diversity of product. So it's very necessary to close the gap for reasons like this, because it leads to, market issues. If you're a company, you cannot function properly without, fully understanding your base and making sure your own system internally is reflective of that base. So it'll take time, but I agree with what everyone else said. I think we'll get there, and it's needed to get there.
Agreed. Diversity and inclusion is important. You cannot just cut off half of your user base. So we'll move on to the next question. How do you break the stigma that it's not cool to be smart, which exists especially for students in the STEM field? So I'll start off with Mollee, since you're on the screen already.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I definitely felt this way, to be honest. When I was a kid, I was like, oh, I want to appear like not, if I was too smart, I wasn't in the cool category, But as I got older, I realized you can be cool and smart. Those things are not mutually exclusive. And I found people in my life who I was like, wow, you are the cheer captain of this high school and you are a programmer and you do both of them very well, and it's very annoying as someone who is like, I can only do one of those things very well. But it's one of those things that it's it's a mindset you have to learn to shift away from, and that comes with practice and seeing that, why do I feel this way? It's because there's certain aspects within my community, within society, that has made me think that, being smart is not cool. But it is, I think, shifting away from that. And it's one of the things that I think we can expose students to, is hopefully, see more cooler, smarter women, smarter men, and everyone who is like intelligent still has a place in this industry, but is still, very cool. They're game developers, designers, everything that Bea was mentioning earlier. So, yeah.
Agreed. Okay, so Beatris, would you like to add on to that or have any other views?
Yeah, so I always been super nerd since the beginning. Like I was in like the nerdy section. Like we were a lot of the times we have 5 sections in my school. So I went to school in Venezuela, so it's not like you can take elective classes like here in the US. It's more like this is all the classes you take, but you are into sections. And it was funny because they always put like the nerdy ones or the geeky ones in one section. So I was always part of that section, but to me that was super cool because all my friends were in the same section. So there wasn't like any big of a difference. And then when the other kids would say stuff, the teachers were always there like, well, yeah, then we'll see who's gonna come out ahead later on in life. I don't think this is a good or bad thing. It's just like, I just think as long as you can embrace who you are and be cool with that, I think that there's a saying that they have in HR that's something like, be who you are, do what you love. And I really live by it, because I think when you're trying to act smart or act geeky or act something that you're not, it's when, I don't know, it just feels that way, right? I think it's like, if you are the kind of person that love math and love physics and things that are, or like books that are maybe are weird to the rest of the people, but not to you, just embrace it. You know, that's who you are. That's okay. We need everyone. And so that's how I see things, but maybe because I've been on the other side most of my life. So maybe that's why.
Okay, great, thank you. So, Komal, what about your story?
Yeah, I don't like this question. I was a geek person all my life, and I was cool, I would say that, yeah. So I think it's okay. I mean, you can be cool and you can be smart. You can be both. Because, I can tell you my story just like Bea said. So I've always got straight A's. I was always like, 85% above in all my classes. But it's not only that. I'm not only studying all the time. I was also there in dance competitions, essay writing, elocutions, everything. Even today we do that. I am always participating into all other things apart from my work. So you just need to find that gap, and you need to manage your time to doing what you actually love. So, it's okay, you can do multiple things. And I think nowadays we have so many more role models who are, maybe programmers on one side, on weekends they are doing modeling or photography or anything about their own hobby, about following a passion for the society. You don't have to change your own image because someone else likes you to be that way. Do what you love, and you will anyways be cool enough for yourself. You don't have to be cool enough for the society.
Agreed. So, we'll move on to Anvesha. What about you?
Yeah, so at this stage of my life, I can definitely say that it's definitely cool to be smart. But I do understand where this question is coming from, and I think it's mostly that phase of life when young kids or high schoolers or people in the college they find, so in order to be in a larger group, you have to do cool things, and to be part of that, you might bunk classes, sit in the back, be backbenchers, go around, partying and things like that. So it does make sense from that point of view. And let me tell you, friends are very important, and people invest a lot of time in friendship. But after college, your friends are bound to go away from you, and only thing that stays with you is the smartness, And I think in order to break, you don't have to break this stigma, because I think this phase comes with every new generation of people that comes in. But I think what will help here is, mentoring and coaching students to be more responsible. You can make friends, have fun, and be smart, all of them together, and just choose the right set of friends. Choose the nerdy ones if you are a nerd. So yeah, that's it.
Yes, thank you. So, we'll move on to the next question, which is, do big companies look for grades or concepts? So the difference between the concepts versus just studying for the exam. So I'd like to start with Anvesha.
Yeah, so I do think that grades are important, because they are kind of like first filters when you go out looking for jobs, if that is what your end goal is. Companies, they kind of look at your grade first, because it's like a metric, a easy number that they can look at to judge if you are capable of acing the interview. Because companies out there they want to hire you, and they want smart people out there. So that is the first thing that they look at. but you know, in order to clear the interview and in order to do anything in the tech world, you need to have your concepts and, you know, fundamentals clear. So that is very, very important. So one thing that you can do is probably, you know, work on your concepts throughout the semester so that it's not very difficult towards the end when you have to study for the exam. And yeah, I think both of them are equally important. I think if you focus on one, which is like building your concept, you should be able to get fairly good grades.
Great, thank you. So we'll move on to Mollee. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love this question because I think I struggled with this a lot when I was in college. Like, do I cram for this test or do I sit down and actually learn for learning's sake? And I think that second one usually ends up being the winner, because if you actually learn your concepts for, you know, the sake of learning them, not just to memorize certain things, you end up having a more well-rounded view into your problem sets, into your homework, into your exams, and you will do better on your grades, like Anvesha said. And I also think that when you go into interviewing for a tech job, a tech position in this industry, people look for problem-solving skills. You know, it's great. You can tell me all about this corner case and this recursion. That's great. But if you can't solve the main algorithm and problem solve through it with your fundamentals, there's no point in you knowing that like very niche detail about this algorithm. So there's a trade-off in this point. But I think if you are, you know, trying to figure out which one you should put more energy into, is always go with more learning, because that will never fail you in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And Komal, would you like to add on to that?
Sure. I think this is the sad truth, actually, that interviews are quite different from your exams, what you learn. But I think it's very important because, you know, having good grades will fetch you an interview at a good company. But later, you are not judged on that. There, you will only be judged upon what your fundamentals and your concepts are, all your CS concepts, you know, data structures, algorithms, all those things. So they'll judge you on your problem-solving skills. They might ask you, it's not necessary that you reach to the conclusion, but they want to see how you reach to the conclusion. And that can only be achieved if your CS fundamentals are clear. So that is where your good grades help. So it's all interconnected, you study for your exam, but in the end, it's helping you for your interviews as well. So, and apart from, data structure, algorithm, problem solving, etc., it's important to understand the basics for this. Don't just mug up the concepts. It's not going to help you anywhere. Just don't mug up the logic. Try to understand what it's trying to, it's easier to solve 10 problems if you know the basics for one. So, if you have that mindset, it's quite easy, to get the grades also and get an interview at a good company.
Thank you. I like the little connection you made right there. And we'll move on to Beatris.
Yeah, I think fundamentals are fundamentals, right? At the end of the day, you have to have them. But also what will give you an edge is how you go about it, or like how you get to a conclusion or to a solution, right? Because there are multiple ways to give. And I think something that when I go for recruiting and I help out with recruiting, sometimes it's like, ask questions. Don't think if I'm asking you, hey, go and design a calculator that does X, Y, and Z, just don't assume that X, Y, and Z means the same to you that it means to me. Like, make sure that you're asking questions and you are having a collaboration. Because at the end of the day, if you work at a big tech company, it's a team, right? Yes, you get assigned certain things that you work on, but at the end of the day, the solution that you're building is have multiple components. So I think that asking the questions and how you get to a solution, it's important versus just going straight, oh, you want a calculator that does X, Y, and Z? Okay, there you go. There you have it. It's more like, okay, but what's the X mean? Do we have people that need accessibility? Do we have, who is this made for? Like those kind of nuances that sometimes we don't think about because you're super nervous when you're doing an interview. I think that's what's going to give you an edge, is how you get to the solution.
Okay, thank you. And we move on to the next question. If someone has a real passion for CS, what can he or she do to get a job in the tech world? So we'll start with Beatris.
Yes, so apply to jobs, go to conferences, and I think a lot of people go into LinkedIn and ask, people, hey, review my resume and stuff. I don't know how successful people are at that. I think that the best you can do is utilize the resources you have for your own college. I don't know how it works in India, and I'm sorry, but maybe Komal can help me, or Anvesha, or you can help me. But like here, they have places where you can go and they take a look at your resume, right? And they help you out. Hey, move this, add that. But what I'm looking at a resume, when I can think of a resume, is like, give me something that's unique about you, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to go to school and you need to pass all your algorithms and all your fundamental classes. But what have you done that it's outside of that shows? And I think that's important. But apply to the website. Every single big company, you are going to get in by applying into their website. So that's yeah.
Okay, so Anvesha, will move on to you. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So yeah, like Bea said, I mean, there are multiple ways to try to get a job in this field. But so this field is vast. I mean, you can be a researcher. If you love maths, you can go learn machine learning and artificial intelligence and be a scientist. So there are different kind of jobs that you're applying to. If you like coding, you can go for software engineer jobs. Or if you like design and you want to help build a product or a service, you can go for program manager jobs. And all of these require you to have different skills. And yeah, the best way is, going out for conferences, looking out for conferences, meeting more people, networking, and finding out what is required to be successful in that job. And I can speak from software engineer point of view. Like Komal mentioned in her previous answers, like it's kind of a sad truth that since it's only a few hours that you give the interview for, you have to impress the interviewers, right? So the only way they can do is test your problem solving skills. And if you want to get a job as a software engineer, I would recommend you to focus on problem solving and your algorithms, and making sure that you understand the concepts also around it, and not just writing code on the wall, just like talking about how you came up with it and complexity, space, time, and things like that. So yeah, it depends on what you want to, what kind of job you want to. Yeah, just go for conferences, network.
I agree, networking is really important. So Mollee, what would your advice be?
Yeah, so I +1 to the networking. I think if you are able to talk to, a recruiter, or you're able to talk to someone who is in that capacity to look at your resume, that's usually at conferences or through maybe mutual network that you have, that's really helpful. And I think in the beginning part of the question, there was a word that's like, I'm passionate about computer science. How do I get a job? That passionate part is super key. Like I can speak from my own interview experience. I worked in a neuroscience lab before I worked at Microsoft, which has nothing to do with coding. It's like I was working with brains, which is very different. But it was something that we ended up spending a 30-minute period talking about with my recruiter, and she was like, this is so interesting. Is this why you like data? Is this why you want to work in data? And I now work in Azure data. So it's like, it's one of those things that your passion will find you a way to find your fit within the tech industry. And the same, what works for me will not work for someone else, and vice versa. So it's about knowing where your strengths lie, and then kind of format your experience and your resume and apply for positions where you see yourself enjoying it and where you would actually be passionate about. Because when you're interviewing someone, when I interview someone, that passion reads in the way they talk about the projects they've worked on, their experiences and stuff like that. So if they can show me that they're interested and they're passionate about what they're working on, it means I have a higher chance of wanting to hire you for my team. So yeah.
I agree. Specific knowledge, but to just find what fits. So we'll move on to Beatris. Oh wait, Beatris hasn't done. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm mute. I think I already spoke. I think it's Komal, no?
Yeah, sorry. Komal. My bad.
That's right. That's right. So actually, I'll just be adding on to all the points that all three of them have said. First thing is networking for sure, but I want to add one more point on networking here. Is I'm an introvert, and I know how difficult it is to go and meet new people and make more connections there. But I've seen that in the last few years, as in my STEM journey, it is very important to network. But the important part to learn is networking can get you an interview. It won't help you to clear an interview. You have the passion, that's right. You can get an interview, but next step is you. So even if you have a great resume, you say you have an internship at Google and you spent 6 months at Microsoft, I want to see that X factor in you. When I meet you, that should come through you. That is where your passion should come up. I mean, like we talk about this problem solving skills and all that is true. And the third thing is find the right position that you like. I think we already talked about it. But as we told, that tech world is not about only coding. Like I can have an interest in researching position, but after that, even if I'm going and working up all the logic and giving mock interviews, it's not going to take me anywhere. So find the right position, and you can keep practicing. You can have mock interviews. There are so many even online websites that takes mock interviews for such positions. So you can practice through that, and in the end, if you're interested in Microsoft, you can always come back here and we'll try something. You can apply on our careers page also.
Yes, thank you. So I just like the next question is actually related to your answer. So it is if apart from coding, what can I do to get a job in the tech world? What work can I do? So we'll start with Komal.
Yeah, so I've already mentioned that before. Actually, there are many. There's a big variety of roles available here, and it's not necessary that only you sit and code all day long. I'm not the right person for this. Actually, we have two PMs in the, at the call here. They can explain more about the variety of the roles that we have. But yes, definitely, you can, and there are multiple internships also available. There's many courses available that you can go and learn about this, and then apply for such positions. So I think Anvesha and somebody can explain.
I can answer. I'm the PM here on the panel. So in terms of that, I think it does help to have that fundamental, that understanding of computer science. But if what you're looking for is mostly on what is the next shiny cool thing that we can develop so our feature or our product goes and have an exponential amount of new users or a bigger impact, or if what you can see is like the wider the skill set that you have, I think it becomes more
it's important to coding is important. If you're applying for a tech job, I think you have to have an understanding of code and how it works as a whole. But then your passions aside from that sort of set you apart. From a practical point of view, if you look at a resume, it doesn't say I just code in Java. That's not just the top line of your resume. It's your experiences. I worked at this company and I did this, or I worked on this nonprofit and I did this. And then your skills that you highlight maybe at the end or whenever is then you talk about the languages you learned. You talk about the concepts you learned there. I think another great way of learning things aside from code that would be beneficial for a tech career is taking online courses that aren't necessarily about learning how to create this web app or create a tech tool necessarily, but also more broader in terms of managerial or learning how to manage a whole product, like Bea was saying. That's its whole other skill set in its own, and it's tough to pick that up very quickly, but if you have prior experience with it, it'll make you stand out in the future. Presenting is another great one. I think that's another skill set that you can work on that will, even if you're an engineer, if you can present your work effectively at work, it's very cool and makes it easier to understand what someone's working on, and it opens up the door to conferences and stuff. That is another thing you can look into, presenting at conferences, talking about your work with other people. Really, collaboration is the key here, and I think that will allow you to go further within this whole tech space.
Great, thank you. And Anvesha, we'll move on to you. Any advice?
Yeah, I think Komal, Bea, Mollee, everybody covered the things that I wanted to talk about. And I think I also talked a little bit about this in my previous answer, which was there are a lot of roles out there. If you're interested, if your passion lies somewhere outside coding, feel free to pursue it. There are a lot of online courses, like Mollee mentioned, that you can learn about, especially, design questions or, there are a lot of online courses that you can take with respect to machine learning, if that is what you're interested in. Learn advanced mathematics, because those are like the hot tech topics right now. So if you want, just try those out, see if your interest lies there, and then just pursue it.
Thank you. And the next question is, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give to your younger self? And we'll start with Anvesha.
Yeah, so if I could go back, I would probably give myself one bit of advice related to job interviews. I see myself not being a very competitive person. I'm a very collaborative kind of a person who likes working in groups and, just focusing on concepts and fundamentals and things like that. So I kind of learned pretty late that you need to be, on your toes when you're giving job interviews, and you have just 1 hour to show your problem solving skills and things like that. So yeah, I was a bit behind in, you know, I would say online algorithm coding and quick coding questions. But if I had known it earlier, the story might be a little different. I don't know, but yeah, that is what I would advise myself to do, specifically related to job interviews and things like that.
Okay, great. Okay, so next, Komal, what advice would you share with your younger self?
Yeah, I'll give two advices. First would be it's okay to not have a plan. I mean, all the students I know, our audiences, they all are in their last year and they must be worried, that I don't know what I'm going to do after I leave college. College is all fun and everything, but you don't know what the real world is outside. So stop putting that pressure on yourself. Be curious and try to learn, try to explore all the different areas that you are interested in. From that, you can find your passion. And second would be that's it. Yeah, find your passion early. So try to find out what you're most interested in, and like what was the last thing that made you forget your lunch. Try to make a career in that, because if your hobby is your job, you'll be awesome from day one, and that is most important, right? Our jobs are going to last for like next 20 years. So find what you like, and you'll anyways enjoy your day, enjoy your work day every day.
Okay. I really agree with your first advice because as an INTJ, I plan excessively. So I need to stop doing that. I know. Okay, so we'll move on to Beatris. What about you?
Yeah, for me is fail fast and be okay with failures. I think that would be the first thing. The second thing is like find your passion and be willing to share it. There's always going to be somebody else that have a similar passion or something that can be shared with you. And the third one is give back. I keep coming back to that because I just think that that's just it's just great when you do that. It's a great feeling.
Okay, so thank you. We'll move on to Mollee. What advice would you share with your younger self?
Yeah, actually, Bea stole two of mine. So I was gonna say, fail fast. I think I was very scared of failure when I was younger, and if I knew it was okay to fail, I would have done it more often. And be more active in your community, give back, be a member there. Those two. Bea already said, so that's great. And then the third one I had is life's too short not to try, so if there's something that you're interested in, you want to give a shot to, I was like, oh, I have to be, structured in this way. But if I could have gone back, I would have tried a lot of different things that I think I would have enjoyed. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. With that, we have exhausted our list of questions. Now, you guys mentioned that your website was open source, so I'll just share the link to your GitHub in the chat because we have a lot of developers here. So if anyone would like to contribute, they can. And so we've reached the end of the session. It has truly been an amazing honor to host you ladies. Personally, I feel so inspired to just go out there and start contributing, but while maintaining social distancing. So, it has been really uplifting hearing your stories. And I think I say this on behalf of everyone here that we thoroughly enjoyed this discussion. And once again, thank you for being here. We've officially reached the end of the session.
And quick shout out to you and your group too. Yeah, Priyansi, thank you for moderating. This was a really enjoyable time. I think I can speak for all of us, but thank you for moderating and thank you. Hello, Developer Students Club. Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, and thank you for joining us, guys. Stay safe and goodbye.
Yeah, guys. So that